don't think your profession or your line of work should stop you from pursuing your passion. You already read the title, Why I Left about $300,000 a year to do this. Why? Before I get to it, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I started off in healthcare. I went to medical school first, and then I actually went and got my MBA on top of that. Why did I go through all this? The thing is that in order to make massive strides in society or for yourself, you come out like the black sheep. What does that mean? You have to be true to yourself. Focus on the mission, what drives you more than anything. So for me, what was driving me? It was my passion. What is passion? Passion is when your core beliefs and your actions come together to equal passion. That's what you pursue. It could be doctors saving lives. And it could be for a woodworker, it's creating things out of wood. You pick an occupation or something to do that drives you and motivates you, whether it's for yourself or to bring value to other people. So for me, it was not bring value to myself, but to others as well, and bring others along with me for the ride. What does that mean for me? I left my job to become an investor. I actually started investing in companies, the first one being my own. I started off into consulting space. After medical school, I actually launched a medical management company, really focused on marketing and consulting side of things. Along the way, I ended up working for Tesla, because Tesla was something that's probably one of the most innovative companies in the world, even though its initial focus wasn't towards going green, I would say, but more than anything, sustainability missions definitely aligned. It's providing sustainable transport. So my core values align with that mission, offer something that's sustainable. That's why it was an innovative company. I joined them. They paid me well, gave me good stock options. But at the same time, that's not my only goal in life. I want to pursue things that not only bring value to me, but to others as well, and to make massive strides. Once I saw my time at Tesla was done, I continued on that path. So I continued with my consulting company, but then moved more along the sides of other companies, other startups, e-commerce brands. I learned a lot from basically the peaks and troughs of riding that wave. Also started investing into other companies, boring companies. I mean, people normally don't think of it. Let's say, for example, if there's a laundromat or a small little mom and pop shop, these are good businesses that run for years. If you look at their income statements, they're more often than not in the green and positive revenue. But sometimes they just need a little bit of help, that little push to help them get over that next step in the ladder or that hurdle to get them into that next level of revenue. So there's a couple of YouTube people, I know Cody Sanchez is one of them, that really goes further into this, where she even describes on how you can actually acquire these businesses for little to no money down and actually bring value, optimize the business, build equity into it, and then sell it. So that's one thing I started as well. I'm not saying if you have a bulk of money to just go buy something blindly. Sometimes it may take you weeks, months, maybe even over a year to find that right business for you. Everyone's going to be different. Make sure it aligns with your personal mission. For me, it's finding things that are more sustainable for the long run. I'm not looking for short-term gains. For example, like retail traders, they're not looking for anyone's gain other than themselves. One person loses, one person gains, right? It's always keeping that balance. That's why I never saw a real value in retail trading. It may be fun, but it doesn't really equate to sustainable growth. What does have sustainable growth is taking that long-term strategy, because then you have that compounded gain, and I'll get into that in a little bit as well. So going back to my story where I started into businesses, went into different startups, continued to compound my consulting business. One of the biggest ones that I recently invested into was a prefab company, where they basically changed the industry where they actually produce prefabs and who they're catered for. One of the biggest missions is to bring prefab to different clientele, where one, the luxury market is very easy to get into. You produce a small number of units for a high profit margin, and there you go, basically following that Tesla/Lucid model. Have more luxury product, and then as you go down the funnel, you offer a product for the masses, produce volume with lower margins. Well, this company is just doing just that, where they're producing a luxury product, boutique hotel in very remote areas. Like if you've seen the Saudi Arabia Alula project, this company actually didn't participate in that, but they're doing something like it in the northern areas of Pakistan, which quite frankly, I've seen it. It looks like an oasis, completely untapped territory, untouched, pristine waters, mountains, It's like another New Zealand. There's a need for it because there's no actual luxury hotel in that space. Because of in the winter time, it's a very harsh condition, so building becomes very difficult. So prefab was the ultimate option where you build something, the unit in the factory, and then you have it assembled on site within a couple of days or weeks tops. So they're doing just that. And then on the other hand, they're also addressing the very low end of the market where there's hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people that can't afford housing. So they're offering a model where they can actually offer to families, let's say if they have larger family system where they have multiple generations or other immediate family members that live within a family compound. So this other unit actually addresses kind of that, where you can have a 2 to 4 units where one owner can actually basically buy the entire unit at mind you, a fraction of the cost what a stick build costs, and actually better insulated, low energy consumption, and all of that, right? It's a nice product for them where they can buy and live into one unit and rent out the other 3 units. And then so it's sustainable for that family because now they have a means of income coming in to sustain themselves. Or they can have multiple units. So let's say if they have their parents living in their own unit, other family members like the brothers and sisters have their own families, have their own units as well. So that's what they're doing. So that's one of the biggest other investments that I got into, which really drives me and motivates me to move forward. I don't think your profession or your line of work should stop you from pursuing your passion. I know it's a hurdle to get over, but if you do, you really open up doors for yourself and to pursue something that you really enjoy. And it's not an easy road to take. There will be failure. I failed multiple times. I hate talking about it even just because of how much I lost, but I want to discuss it with you because it actually probably one of the most important steps I took in my life in order to really learn from my failures. What happens? Actually, I have a couple I could talk about. One was a healthy eatery. Lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was COVID as well, so that's why it didn't really take. But the thing is, I learned a lot about how to manage people, how to manage a business, how to scale it from that one venture. The other thing was on the digital e-commerce space. I had a very successful e-commerce brand I launched that was doing into 7, almost 8 figures of revenue. And it went up, and then it just as quickly as it went up, it went down. Why? You have to understand that there's product life cycles, there's also how to sustain and also grow the business and how to vertically integrate things. I could create a separate video on that if you guys want to hear a little bit more. But again, it's literally, you learn from these failures to find out how to actually run a business. Even though I went to business school, I feel like I learned even more from the failure itself, because when you learn from that, you take its takeaways and then you make sure not to repeat that same mistake again. The other thing I would say is actually pick one thing. I know there's FOMO for missing out on certain things. It's like, hey, I could hustle and do this, I could have that, I could have passive income from here. Yes, that may be true, but at the same time, you have to realize that there's a compounded growth effect, just like in investing. Let's say, for example, if you have a simple strategy where you just take $1,000 a month and you just put it into like the S&P, right? And you do that consistently for 20, 30 years. So let's say if you're 25, 30 years old right now, and you have maybe $100, $500, or even $1,000 or more that you can really allocate and dedicate to put in towards this investment on the side. Maybe it's a couple $100 or $1,000 is not that much, but if you look at it, if you put in any investment calculator, S&P has a CAGR of typically around a compounded annual growth rate of about 10% year. Some years it goes down, some years it goes up, but overall, long term, I'd say it's safe to assume at least a 10% return year over year. Look at it over 30 years with consistent amount you're putting in every month. By the time, let's say if you're 30 now, you look at it when you're 60 years old, that's going to be well over into the millions of dollars. So again, that's the compounded effect. You're doing one thing and you're doing it repeatedly, and it just constantly just grows. So if you look at the billionaires of this world today, they have one thing that they've really excelled at. You have Zuckerberg with Facebook, you have Bezos with Amazon. Elon, if you can argue that he has multiple businesses, but his primary business that he actually does focus on is Tesla. He's surrounded himself with a group of people, again, which is another thing that you should be looking at doing. Don't be afraid to outsource to scale growth. A group of brilliant minds is always going to be better than one brilliant mind, but that one brilliant mind will always benefit collectively from taking advantage of the group. So don't be afraid of just focus on one thing and then really scale it. After you have money coming in, you could diversify it like Amazon, diversify it in a multitude of different businesses, or really invest that money into something that's tangible, like real estate, like the prefab project. Now, if you want to hear more and get into how to transition your career path, I could talk to you more about that. If you saw value in this, please don't hesitate to smash that subscribe button, hit that bell icon, and I look forward to speaking to you guys again. Bye-bye.